Welcome, welcome to the Mind Fuck Podcast. Yay! Welcome, my friend. Thank you so much for taking time out to hang out with me. I am grateful you're here. It's a beautiful day to be alive, right? My name is Wanu Aleshe. And sometimes I do go by amazing soul. Hmm. Welcome again. Thank you so much for being here. FCK stands for fun, compassion, and kindness. We have like a little tradition that we usually do on the show before we start every episode where I have a list that I titled Reminders to Being Human. The intention behind, reading that list every time is to remind myself and also to remind you on your journey. Reminders to being human. Have fun along the journey. Show yourself compassion. Be kind to others. Being complex and being simple can hold true in the same breath. Stay curious. Hold space for pauses. Hold space for not knowing. Never underestimate the power of silence. Nature has a lot of wisdom. Pay attention. There is power in we than I. If nothing else makes sense, come back to love. Pain is our greatest teacher. And the very last one, never underestimate your ripple of existence. Welcome once again. Now let's get into the fun part of the show. All right. I want to start today with something that most of us feel but don't always name. Why does honesty feel so scary? Yet, the moment we finally tell the truth, something in our body exhales. Not externally. I mean, sometimes the situation doesn't immediately improve. Sometimes the situation is awkward. Sometimes the other person doesn't respond the way we hoped. But internally, though, there's a shift, there's a softening, there's a release, there's less tightness in the chest, and there's less mental loops and rehearsing in our minds. So today, I want to explore this with you, not from a moral standpoint, not from a you should always be honest standpoint, but from a nervous system standpoint. Why does honesty activate fear and yet relieve pressure at the same time? I'm going to bring you into my own life with this because this is something I had to learn the hard way. Growing up, I did not grow up believing honesty was always safe. No. I grew up a very defiant, questioning child. I asked why questions a lot. I didn't naturally conform to rules, and I felt things intensely. And in my home where I grew up in Lagos, Nigeria, questioning authority wasn't always welcomed. Physical discipline was normalized culturally, and silence was safer than challenge, and compliance was rewarded. So my nervous system learned something very early in my life. Trust can cost you connection. Sorry, truth can cost you connection. Truth can cost you safety. Truth can cost you belonging. And when you're a child, belonging is survival. So what does the body do? It adapts to the environment, right? It learns over time to not say that, not push, you know, how you really feel, not show the anger, not express that you feel hurt in the moment, right? Because what the body does is it prioritizes attachment over authenticity. And I'll tell you right now, that's not weakness. That is simply survival intelligence. So when we grow up and someone says, just be honest, it's not that simple. Because for some of us, honesty was wired to danger, right? Let me take you to another chapter in my life. So when I joined the military in 2019, I mean, there was structure, there was formation, there was rank, there was hierarchy. I learned how to function under pressure. I learned how to perform strength. I learned how to keep going even when I was exhausted. And for years, my lower back pain was building. I mean, I was running on 2 to 4 hours of sleep every night. My body was constantly bracing. But when someone asked me then, Wanu, how are you? My answer was automatic. I'll respond and say things like, I'm good, I'm fine, right? Not because I was lying intentionally, no, but because I have trained myself over the years to override internal truth for external stability. Honesty back then would have meant, whew, I'm not okay. I am struggling. I am overwhelmed. Honesty would have meant, I don't know how much I can keep this pace any longer. And literally saying that out back then felt destabilizing. It felt like I admitted that everything might collapse. So what I did back then was I carried the tension in my body. And here's what I didn't realize at that time. Dishonesty isn't always deception. Sometimes it's self-protection because the body always keeps score, right? Every unspoken truth becomes held tension. I mean, held tension in your gut, held tension in the shoulders, held tension in our breath, in the chest area, right? And for me, when I finally transitioned out of the army medically in 2022, everything started to slow down in my life. And when everything starts to slow down, you can start to hear yourself, right? You can start to hear your thoughts. I remember lying awake at 3 a.m. just staring at the ceiling. And I was just thinking to myself, damn, my back hurts right now. My chest felt so tight. And for the first time, I couldn't perform I am fine to anyone because I was alone with myself. I was alone with my thoughts. And this, for me, is where honesty got real, right? I had to admit to myself, I am exhausted. I am angry. I am grieving the identity I built, and I don't know what's next in my life. And saying that out loud to myself was terrifying because when you stop performing strength, you feel vulnerable. And something unexpected happened while I was going through that process. When I stopped arguing with my reality, when I just started becoming really honest, my body softened. Not instantly, not dramatically, but subtly, right? Over time, my breath deepened, my shoulders dropped, the internal fight decreased, right? The tension wasn't just from the pain, no. The tension, part of it was from resisting my truth. So why does honesty feel scary? Because honesty threatens three things: attachment, identity, and control. Attachment. If we tell the truth, we're scared that people will leave us, or people will reject us, or they will think less of us. Identity. If we admit that we are struggling, we start to ask, who am I? If I'm not the strong one, if I'm not the capable one, if I'm not the positive one, then who am I? Control. If we say the truth out loud, it becomes real. And if it's real, we can't manage it through avoidance anymore. That's why our heart starts to race before an honest conversation. That's why our stomach starts to tighten, our mind starts to rehearse, right? And the nervous system starts to scan for threat. But here is the paradox of it all. When the truth is finally spoken, the body no longer has to hold the secret. And the secrets are heavy. Even the small ones. The small ones like, I really don't want to go, or that really hurt me, or I need space, or I don't agree with what this person is saying, or I'm not okay. And when those stay inside over time, your body holds that load. And when they are spoken, the body redistributes the weight of that load. It feels lighter. Let me give you another simple example from my personal life. There was a moment with my partner where I felt hurt about something small. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't explosive, but I could feel the tension building inside myself. And my old pattern would have been, okay, let's minimize this. Maybe I'm just overreacting. Let me stay quiet. Let me avoid the conflict. But that night, I noticed a tightening in my chest, and I remembered the practice I have been building over time, pausing and observing the sensation in my chest. And I said, I'm simply noticing the sensation in my chest. And I sat with it for 90 seconds. And then I said calmly to my partner, hey, man, what happened early on? I really felt hurt. My voice was slightly shaky, but I said it. And his response wasn't catastrophic. It wasn't an explosion. There was no abandonment. He actually understood where I was coming from. And even if it was explosive or there was abandonment, right? It was less about that, but the relief in my body from telling the truth was immediate. The tension dissolved because honesty aligns the inside with the outside. And alignment feels like safety. Here's what I've come to believe. Honesty is not just a moral act. It's a regulatory act. When your internal reality and external expression match, your nervous system doesn't have to split. When you constantly edit yourself, you create internal fragmentation. One part is holding truth, another part is managing perception. That split over time is exhausting. Honesty, on the other hand, integrates those parts of yourself. Honesty says, man, this is what I feel. This is what's true to me. This is where I stand. Honesty doesn't guarantee approval. It doesn't guarantee comfort, but it reduces internal tension. That's what true honesty does. And over time, right, your nervous system learns something new. Your nervous system learns that truth doesn't automatically equal danger. And that is a profound rewiring. So, my friend, if honesty feels scary to you right now, it doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you're dramatic. It doesn't mean you're incapable. No. It might simply mean your body once learned that truth was unsafe. And now you're teaching your body otherwise. Maybe you don't start with a big truth. No, it doesn't have to be a big truth. Start small. You can start with, my body feels tired. I really need a break. That didn't feel good at all. Or you can even tell yourself, I don't know. That is honest as fuck. And notice what happens in your body when you say it. Notice the fear and then notice the exhale. I'll tell you this from my experience. Honesty can feel like stepping off a cliff, but sometimes it's actually stepping back into yourself. And your body knows the difference, right? I'll leave you with this question. Where in your life are you holding tension because something true hasn't been spoken yet? And what would it feel like to say it gently, safely, and in your own timing? As always, I am grateful you are here, and I'm constantly, daily learning this right alongside with you, my friend. I'm sending you so much love from my heart to yours. Thank you.